Have you ever picked up a book you love, one you've read countless times, and suddenly found yourself squinting, leaning closer to the light, shifting in your seat just to make out each line? Or maybe you're scrolling through your phone or reading the news, and the words start to blur slightly, not completely, not sharply, just not quite as vivid as they used to be. You blink, adjust your glasses, turn on a brighter light, and quietly tell yourself, must be my age. It happens to everyone. But what if I asked you this? Is it really just your age? Or is your body trying to speak to you, softly but clearly? I'm still here, but I'm missing something important. Your eyes don't simply weaken because you've turned 50 or 60. They weaken because they're no longer being nourished properly. And sometimes just one small missing nutrient is enough to slowly steal away your clarity. Not overnight, but over years. Quietly, persistently. I know, you've heard all the usual advice. Eat more carrots. Get a new prescription. Just accept it. But what few people tell you is this. There's one specific vitamin, often forgotten, that can help preserve the clarity you thought was already gone. In today's video, we'll explore the common misunderstandings that lead to vision loss after 50, the 5 essential vitamins and nutrients your eyes need to stay strong, and one simple habit you can start that may make a real difference in just a few weeks. If you care about your vision, not just to see clearly, but to live fully, stay independent, and remain connected to life, please hit subscribe to our channel, Life in Words. This is where we share science-backed advice that's heartfelt and easy to follow to help you care for your body, your mind, and your heart more completely after 50. And if you're still with us right now, leave a comment below that says, I'm listening, you're not alone. And your journey to restoring your vision can begin right now. Part 1. Helen and the light that no longer felt bright enough. Helen is 72 years old. She lives quietly in a small town. Books have been her lifelong companions. From classic novels to poems she's memorized since youth. To Helen, pages are not just for reading, they're where she lives, remembers, and connects with the world in her own way. But over the past year, evenings have become something she dreads. As the light dims, the words on the page begin to blur. She changes her glasses, moves her chair closer, switches to a brighter bulb. But no matter what she tries, the letters keep fading, as if they're slipping out of reach. She thinks to herself, my eyes are just old. I have to accept it. Until one day during a routine checkup, the doctor looks at her results and says, Helen, your vitamin A is very low. In that moment, everything begins to make sense, quite literally. It wasn't just age. Her eyes were missing a fundamental nutrient. Vitamin A plays a critical role in how the retina functions, especially when it comes to adjusting to low light and darkness. Without it, the eyes become slower to respond in dim conditions. The result, night blindness, poor evening vision, eye fatigue after sunset, and if left untreated, it can lead to permanent damage without anyone noticing. You might think, I eat plenty of carrots. I should have enough vitamin A. But here's the truth. Carrots only contain beta-carotene, which is a precursor. Your body, especially after 50, needs to convert it into its active form retinol. And that conversion process slows down significantly with age. So even if you eat a bowl full of carrots, you could still be deficient. What Helen needed was retinol, the ready-to-use form of vitamin A, found in eggs, whole milk, and animal liver. But not everyone enjoys liver, and thankfully, it wasn't necessary. One small daily supplement of retinol, easy to take, simple to maintain, was what changed everything for her. Just a few weeks later, Helen was reading again in the evening without having to lean forward, without adjusting her lamp. Same light as before, but her eyes were different. No more strain, no more squinting, no more feeling like she was slipping. If you've ever felt like the light isn't quite enough, even when it hasn't changed, if you've ever squinted to read the same lines you've read 100 times, leave a comment that says, "That was me." Because sometimes what your eyes need isn't a stronger prescription, but to be nourished again from the inside. Helen didn't do anything extraordinary. She simply listened to her body and began with a single, forgotten vitamin. And that was only the beginning. Because now we'll meet someone else, a man who always prided himself on being careful and precise, who began noticing small, drifting shadows in his vision. And this time, the cause came from a vitamin most people only think of during cold season, but it turned out to be a quiet shield for his sight. Part 2, George and the floating shadows in his eyes. George is 72, a retired mechanic. He's the type of man who lived with precision, eyes that once examined hundreds of tiny mechanical parts, hands that adjusted each piece to exact alignment. He was used to solving problems with logic and control. But lately, something had changed, something he couldn't quite control. He began seeing tiny black dots, little floating specks drifting across his field of vision. At first, he thought it was just dirty lenses, then figured it was just aging. Floaters, he told himself. Everybody gets them. But they started to appear more often, more noticeably. And when he read fine print, his eyes would tire quickly. Words would blur. His focus no longer felt sharp. One morning, George finally scheduled an eye exam. The doctor examined his retina, looked closely, then said, "George, your eye tissue is weakening, not just from age. You're also lacking vitamin C." George was surprised. Vitamin C like orange juice. Then he learned the truth. Vitamin C isn't just for fighting colds. It's a quiet protector for your eyes, strengthening the tiny capillaries, reducing damage from aging, and fighting oxidative stress, the kind that makes your eyes feel like they're slowly rusting over time. Imagine your eye as a glass window. Light, pollution, and time leave behind a fine layer of dust. If you don't wipe it away, your vision doesn't disappear, but it loses its sharpness. Vitamin C is that soft cloth, the gentle cleaner. It helps maintain the flow of nutrients and oxygen to the retina. Without strong capillaries, you get blurring. Light feels too harsh. You see floating shadows, just like George. The common mistake, I drink orange juice, I must be fine. But many store-bought juices are loaded with sugar, and too much sugar can actually increase inflammation, making things worse. George made a change. He stopped drinking processed juice, started eating more red bell peppers, kiwi, and added a buffered vitamin C supplement that's gentle on the stomach. Within a few weeks, the floating dots faded. His eyes felt less tired, and he felt clearer, not just in his vision, but in his mind. If your eyes have ever ached after reading, if words blur no matter how clean your glasses are, if you've seen tiny dark specks drift through your vision, leave a comment that says, "I've seen that too." Because what your eyes may need isn't a new pair of glasses, but a fresh start from within. George didn't overhaul his life. He just found the right answer, at the right time. And his clarity came back, quietly, surely. Part 3, Linda and the light that was no longer enough, even under a clear sky. Linda is 68 years old, a retired elementary school teacher. She loves quiet mornings, sitting by the window with a cup of tea, reading the news, or video calling her daughter and her 5-year-old granddaughter. It used to be her favorite part of the day, a simple habit, a quiet joy. But in recent months, something about that morning routine started to fade. The images on her phone, still bright, felt strangely dull. Text messages looked softer. Her granddaughter's face lacked brightness, as if a thin layer of fog covered the screen. She thought, maybe I've been using my phone too much. Maybe I just need new glasses. But at her routine eye exam, the doctor said something unexpected. Linda, you're severely deficient in vitamin D. She was surprised. I go outside every day. I walk. I sit on my porch. The doctor explained. After 60, our skin no longer produces vitamin D as efficiently. Even if you're out in the sun, your body doesn't absorb it the way it used to. Vitamin D, not something most people think affects eyesight, but in truth, it plays an anti-inflammatory role. It helps protect the retina, and especially the macula, the central part of your vision where clarity lives. The macula is like the camera lens in your eye. If it weakens, even with good lighting, things look blurred in the middle. You can see outlines, but the details fade. Linda didn't need anything complicated. She simply started with a few steps. She got a blood test to confirm her levels, took a daily supplement of vitamin D3, the most absorbable form, added more eggs, mushrooms, and salmon to her meals, and kept up her morning walks, but no longer assumed the sunshine was enough. 2 months later, she called her granddaughter, and for the first time in a long while, she could see those bright little eyes sparkle clearly on the screen. No blur, no cloudiness, no squinting. Just one small moment, but to her, it felt like an entire world returning. You may be low in vitamin D and not even know it. No pain, no dizziness, no obvious signs. Just that, your eyes no longer catch the light like they once did. If you've ever felt something like that, leave a comment saying, I'm noticing this. Because maybe your eyes are calling you back, not with sound, but with a gentle blur. Linda didn't change her whole lifestyle. She just started looking again, not just with her eyes, but with understanding. Part 4, Richard and the dry eyes that whispered something was missing. Richard is 75. He lives alone in a small house beside a cornfield. He used to be a construction supervisor, precise, steady, always knowing exactly what needed to be done. But in recent months, his eyes no longer felt as certain as he was. They weren't completely blurry, not painful, just dry, uncomfortably so, as if a fine layer of dust had settled behind his eyelids. Every time he read the morning paper, the feeling returned. He blinked constantly, closed his eyes to soothe them, opened them again, only for the same irritation to come back. A simple act, reading the news, became something he no longer looked forward to. He tried eye drops. They brought relief, but only for a little while. Then everything returned, just as before. At a general checkup, the doctor asked, "Do you take vitamin E?" Richard blinked. "I thought vitamin E was just for skin." The doctor smiled. "Actually, it's one of the quietest protectors of your eyes. Vitamin E doesn't just slow down skin aging. It fights oxidative stress in the retina, something that happens daily from bright light, screen exposure, fine dust, and time. Even more importantly, vitamin E helps keep the eyes moisturized, supporting the tear glands that keep your eyes from feeling dry, irritated, or gritty. Imagine your eyes as a small forest pond. If not nourished by underground springs, it slowly dries up, turns muddy, then cracks at the bottom. Vitamin E is that hidden spring, gentle, silent, but without it, your eyes dry up from within. Once he understood, Richard began changing small things. He started eating a handful of almonds daily, added a bit of butter to his morning toast, and began taking a natural form of vitamin E, mixed tocopherols at the right dose and schedule. There was no overnight miracle. But one morning, he opened the paper and read it straight through. No blinking, no stinging, no dry burn when a breeze came through the window. Everything felt normal again. And for him, normal was something truly special. If you've ever felt mild dryness in your eyes, like there's grit or dust inside, or you have to close your eyes just to get relief, leave a comment that says, "I understand this." That discomfort may be your eyes gently calling you back. Richard didn't need daily drops anymore. He simply nourished his eyes from the root, like tending to a pond he thought had dried up. Part 5, Grace and the Colors That Return to Eyes Ready to Give Up. Grace is 75. She used to knit entirely from memory. No pattern, no counting, just the yarn in her hands, needles tapping lightly, and the design would appear, like a familiar melody in her mind. Knitting wasn't just a hobby, it was her quiet music, a way to hold on to memories from her years as a young mother to the sweet days of becoming a grandmother. But one day everything began to shift. The thread lost clarity, patterns became confusing. She had to lean in, squint, then set the needles down. "My eyes just aren't enough anymore," she whispered, and inside she felt something deeper fade away. It wasn't just a craft she lost. It was a part of who she was, the quiet, precious part that made her feel like herself. At a routine checkup, the doctor said, "Your central vision is declining. It might be early macular degeneration." Then he added, "I want you to start taking lutein and zeaxanthin." Grace had never heard of those before. They weren't the usual vitamins, but the doctor explained, "These two antioxidants concentrate in the macula, the central part of the retina that gives us sharp detail. Think of your eye like a photo. The center, the clearest spot, is where these nutrients live to protect you. They filter out harmful blue light, reduce glare, and improve contrast. When you don't have enough, the center of your vision starts to fade, gradually, silently, without pain." Grace began gently. She added more spinach, corn, and egg yolks to her meals, took a daily supplement with 10 milliliters of lutein and 2 milliliters of zeaxanthin, just as prescribed, cut back on screen time in the evenings. 2 months later, she opened her old knitting box, picked up the needles, tried again. The patterns began to return, still not perfect, but visible. She didn't need to lean in, didn't need to strain. And when she finished her first scarf in months, she smiled quietly. "I didn't just see the stitches again, I saw myself again." If you've noticed your central vision blurring, colors feeling dull, or too much sensitivity to blue light, leave a comment that says, "I need this duo." Because this might be the final shield your eyes have been waiting for. Not loud, not dramatic, just a gentle layer of protection from within. Grace didn't do anything grand. She simply started paying attention and chose to give her eyes a new lens from the inside. Conclusion: this isn't just about vision. This is about living fully, every day. Take a quiet moment to think. When your eyesight starts to fade, you don't just lose the ability to see clearly. You may begin to lose your way of connecting to the little things you love most. A cup of tea in the morning doesn't look as warm and golden. A loved one's face on the screen becomes softly blurred. You put down the book you were halfway through, or leave the scarf half knitted, because your eyes no longer keep pace like they used to. And perhaps what's even more heartbreaking is this. Many people think it's just how life goes. They believe that aging means losing their vision. They quietly fold away a part of their life without knowing. They might still be able to keep it. What we've discovered together today vitamin A, C, D, E, lutein, zeaxanthin. These aren't miracle cures. They're not something new or out of reach. They're just the basic building blocks to rebuild a tired pair of eyes, not because of age, but because of lack of care. And the beautiful truth is this: you still have time. Whether you're 60, 70, or beyond, the journey to protect your vision has never been too late to begin. Take a second look at the vitamins you currently take. Look at your plate. Do you see dark leafy greens, the bright yellow of corn, the deep red of bell peppers? Ask your doctor about a blood test. Find out what your body's missing before it speaks up by quietly pulling you away from what you love. And if this video has given you something, knowledge, hope, or simply the feeling of being heard, leave a comment that says, "I will start today." You are not alone, and your words may be the encouragement someone else is waiting for. If you'd like to keep receiving stories like this, gentle, science-based, and full of heart, please hit subscribe to our channel, Life in Words. We're here to help you see more clearly, not just with your eyes, but with your heart. Because vision is how you see the world, but taking care of your vision is how you keep choosing to see the beauty in your life.